The second part of task 2 in freeform modeling is going to be to create a computer mouse. Now, the interesting part about creating a computer mouse is it could be a normal computer mouse that you have, a simple one that does the most basic features, or it could be a bit on the ergonomic side for designers and gamers. There are gaming mouses. Then you have this whole array of mouse called as 3D mouse. Now, I leave it to you what kind of a mouse you want to create, but in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create the general form of a mouse, the amount of buttons you want to add, the amount of shape modifications you want to give. That is going to be left to your creativity and your creative freedom. At the same time, you're free to follow the steps that I show in this video, and then add upon it, do the finishing touches and submit the same video. The grading does not depend on the complexity of your mouse, but more on the detail and authenticity of the mouse or any of the CAD models you're going to make throughout the course of these two lab sections. So let's quickly get started with modeling your mouse. As you can already see, I have a basic shape in front of me. I am going to go ahead and show you how I created this shape. So let me open a new file. The shape of a mouse, if you look at it from side view, you will notice that it has a hump and then a straight line. So it's got a base, it's got this hump that gives it the basic idea of a mouse, and then it's kind of smooth along. This entire part over here is smooth, and you have your buttons, etc. The top view, if you think about it, it's got this curvature at the back. It's got its front is kind of curved, and then you have these buttons coming in here and maybe a tiny scroll bar. Considering everything that you have seen for a mouse, you could say that you could start from a basic Play-Doh of a cube. There could be a bounding box around the mouse. The mouse could kind of sit inside this. The mouse could kind of sit inside this, and you could go ahead and model it in the way you want. So that's what I'm going to do today. Let's go create a form, create a box. This time I'm going to create it in my front face because I am assuming this to be my side, so that's going to be my front face. All right, let's create a box in the front face. I am creating a 25 by 25 cube. It's a cuboid because 25 by 25 by 10 over here. Now, the shape of the mouse has a certain symmetricity about this line. If for example, if this shape over here is going to get pulled upwards along this, then it cannot be that this face is going to just remain, it's just going to be at a lower elevation. That wouldn't really give us the mound that we are expecting for. So I'm going to go ahead and add a bit of symmetry. Now, I haven't shown this in the previous video, so pay attention. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to symmetry, mirror, internal layers and external. There's a duplicate and there's an internal mirror. Duplicate will create two objects about a plane, much like the mirror feature that you've used in surface modeling. Internal mirror is going to give you a line of symmetricity, and that's what I'm after. So I'm going to go for mirror, internal, over here. Give me a second. Let me see why it's not visible for you. There it goes. So I'm gonna select the face, select another face. You see this line of symmetricity about it. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and go to modify. This as you have seen in the previous video, this will give this kind of motion. This is on about, and this will be in among the y and z axis, right? So I need something that is for a mount. It grows. It grows in your x and y direction equally as it grows in either of the sides. The growth has to be proportional. I just can't pull one side to have it. So take this square, which will increase it proportionally. Okay. Adjust it the way you want it to be, right? And sorry, and drag it on a bit. Now, because we are not working with any dimensions, you might have to use a bit of your visual perception of how you look at how this each proportion of the mouse looks like. For example, this is a very deep slope, so I'm kind of going to adjust that. All right. Now I have a bare minimum shape. Now onto this shape, I am now onto this shape. You could make some changes. For example, I wanted this to be a bit curved. Model by the curve. If you want to model it by the curve, hold this, modify, and sorry. Let's try. So these are your right now. When I move this curve, I want to create a kind of a right. I wanted to create a kind of a dent on the surface. So I have that dent, a mild dent, if you could look at it from the sides. You could see that in the way this line has splined about. Now, all right, the next thing, I have a rough shape of a mouse. You could adjust it a bit over here. I want to add a key. I want to add the keys, right? So over here, you can create a sketch. Alternatively, you can create a plane to manipulate it. I want to kind of extrude this. This could also work. So you have so now you have these two slots to put a button. What did I do? I went to create, pressed on extrude. I took the face that I wanted to extrude, and I kind of gave it a negative extrusion. So this created a dent where you could go ahead and put in your buttons. Alternatively, you could go to extrude, click on the face, and create an upward extrusion. So here you already have two buttons, but because the buttons are more in the shape of a mound and less in the shape of slots, I am simply going to now this is the face I want to be sketching in. Sorry, can get a little confusing. This is the face I want to be sketching at. I am going to say right now I'm just drawing a random shape to show you. Spinach form. So now for you to get a hole over here, click on extrude. Rather create a box on maybe this surface. So I create a box here, for example, and now, as you have noticed, I haven't really fixed it in place. So I'm going to turn it around and there you go. There is your scroll bar. Similarly, you can do the same thing. You could create a box. You could create a box on this face, on the top face, merge it with the other mouse, like I just did for the scroll button over here, and create two tiny, really tiny buttons, so that there is a difference between this surface and this, but there isn't much of a, but it's not like a huge box jutting out of the surface. You could go ahead and make these dents more defined to give it a shape, or you could make just, or you could make this faces, these two faces, comparatively more wider. So, for example, take this, modify, and sorry, that's not the button. So, okay. So this has more a wider base, like how we envisioned it to be. That's pretty much for this video. Some of the shortcuts that we spoke about in the mouse and the paddle, we will look them up in the tips and tricks section of the same video, of the same labs manual. And Good luck.